Welcome back to Primetime News.
Special welcome to folks on OneSpotMedia.com.
As fire continues to rage at a tire storage facility near the Riverton disposal site, business operators in sections of the corporate area are complaining that the smoke from the site is hampering commercial activities.
The Jamaica Fire Brigade says it expects to fully extinguish the blaze at the facility by Friday. TVJ's Vashon Brown has more.
A fire at a tire facility near the Riverton City disposal site since the weekend. The smoke has not only been affecting residents in the corporate area, but businesses have also been hit hard. Business operators say the smoke emanating from the site is hampering commercial activities. Business Development Manager at Tire Warehouse, Rowan White, says the smoke is crippling operations at his company.
It's terrible. I mean, it's getting worse. Now we have to close the store because of the smoke. Not only the smoke, it's what's in the smoke. It's very bad on the eyes. Plus, it's suffocating. So we have to close the store. We can't have customers coming in. Most customers come there, we have to ask them to sit inside. The guys who work on the outside, some of the time we have to break them from outside because it's so heavy.
General Manager of gas company IGL, Wayne Kirkpatrick, told our news center that the company has been closing its plant earlier than usual due to the effects of the smoke. He said several staff members were also sent home.
Yesterday we had to close our operation at about 3 o'clock and send home the staff. We actually closed our plant from before that, and then we closed the main building by 3 o'clock because the smoke is stifling, and it was thick black plumes of smoke that came across from the fire, the burning of the tires. And the staff has not been well. Our asthmatics, we had to send them home early, and it seems as if today it's not getting any better. So we have to be moving people around. We've had to close areas in the building because of the smoke getting into the areas, and it's not a good scene.
In the meantime, Assistant Commissioner in charge of Area 1 at the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Sean Martin, who was a guest on RJR's Beyond the Headlines, said come Thursday there should be minimal impact on businesses.
We want business to be able to reopen tomorrow and to be able to run smoothly. So we don't want to have this volume of smoke going up to affect people in the area. So once we cover it now, what we'll do is break it out in small pieces. So we'll open small areas and extinguish that small area so we can contain and control the amount of smoke that is actually coming from the fire.
I see. And based on what you're seeing, it might take about how long in all to completely deal with the site?
Well, tomorrow is Thursday. We should say by the latest Friday. Depends on how the resources are. However, but the impact that we're looking at though, come tomorrow, there should be very, very minimal impact.
Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, says it will be relocating tires stored at the facility at the Riverton dump. NSWMA's Executive Director, Audley Gordon, says discussions about the new location are far advanced.
We are in advanced discussion right now with a private sector entity. NIPA is the last meeting we had, NIPA was in the room, Ministry of Health was in the room, and we are pretty much at a stage now where we are looking at weeks, not months, to begin to move out the tires into that facility.
The government has outlined a number of measures to clamp down on gang violence in Westmoreland following the murder of 7 people last week. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang gave an update in the House of Representatives earlier today. Details from TVJ's Andrea Chisholm.
Images depicting the misery and mayhem that rocked Grange Hill, Westmoreland last week. 7 people killed, including a 2-year-old, and several others injured due to a gang war. Between January 1 and May 5 this year, 57 people were murdered in Westmoreland, 12 more than the same period last year. And when it comes to shootings, that too is up. 64 shootings have been recorded in the division. So National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang says the security forces will be hunting down gang members, wanted men, persons of interest, as well as people and businesses that help them commit crimes.
Inform personnel across the country will reports of possible persons of interest from the division that may attempt to flee the island. work with the Financial Investigation Division of the Ministry of Finance and the RPD to go after these criminals, their cronies and support systems in order to disable their resources and make them financially non-viable.
3 major gang feuds are at the heart of the problem in Westmoreland: Dexter Street versus Dalling Gang, Kings Valley and the Sterling Godfrey Gang, and the Garth Elvin versus the Russell faction.
We envision that in the media, it will be good to see images of dons and gang leaders being escorted to courts by police officers as a testimony of our new way of doing business.
Changes will also be made to the anti-gang, proceeds of crime and anti-lottery scanning laws.
It would be useful, not just for the House, but for the country, to indicate some timelines that we are working with to put these in place.
Opposition Member of Parliament Mark Golding wants a joint select committee to meet quickly and make recommendations to update the anti-gang law. He said that review was due in April last year. Director of Public Prosecutions Paula Llewellyn recently called for the police to get powers to enter search and seize specifically under the anti-gang law. While the nation awaits those changes, Member of Parliament for Western Westmoreland Dr. Wickham McNeil wants the security forces to maintain a strong presence in the area.
If we sit down on top of this issue now, we may be able to resolve it. If we ever just treat it as a one-day occurrence and go away, what is going to happen? It will only be a matter of time that you will get a resurgence and it will be harder to resolve the second time around.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
To a bizarre story now of how a teen managed to wrestle and disarm a gunman who barged into her family's home in Frome, Westmoreland, but not before shooting a family friend who was at the house. The friend subsequently died. But the story got even more complicated after the identity of the gunman was revealed. Kirk Wright reports.
In time, these bite marks will fade, but the circumstances under which Elisa Lawrence was bitten will not leave her memory anytime soon. 18-year-old Alicia was trying to take a gun from a man who barged into her house minutes after 7 Saturday night. A family friend who was there at the time was shot and killed by the gunman.
Everybody was at home, right? In the hall area. And my little brother said he heard a sound out here, and Marcus, that's the guy who got shot, opened the door and said, "What that? Who that?" And that time, the gunman shot him in his mouth.
The gunman entered the house and went straight to her parents' room, but Alicia, who was following, panicked.
I remember back in my room, I tell my girlfriend, say, them are kill mommy and daddy. Then I grab my fan, run go in there and throw it at him. And right after the fan, there was me. I jump at him and start wrestling with him and grab onto the hand when I have the gun in. And we wrestle down to the floor. And then he put the gun at my head. Like he overpowered me and put the gun at my head. And I lean like that. And he fired a shot.
Alicia says she was stunned by the explosion, but says she was determined to get the gun and save her family. She started wrestling with the gunman. Then shortly after, her father and mother joined the fight.
He started biting me in my back. Then I bite onto the finger that he had on the gun, you know. Start biting him and did a fight until me finally just take the gun out of him hand. Me and daddy just take it out of him hand and him just back a little and then run off.
After the gunman was disarmed, the father removed his mask and was stunned to have found out that the man who almost took his life was that of his own son.
Daddy said, "Jesus Christ, they really do this."
Alicia says from the beginning, she could tell the gunman was her brother based on her observations. The police captured the gunman the following day. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
2 persons are dead, while at least 4 others are in hospital following a major accident on the Melrose Hill bypass in Manchester. The details are still unclear at this point, but images sent to our newsroom moments ago show a Toyota minibus transporting goods and an SUV pinned against bushes by 2 trucks. One of the trucks, which was transporting sand, also overturned, spilling its contents on the road, causing a major blockage. Vehicular traffic has been diverted onto the old Melrose Road. Up to news time, investigators were still on the scene. Firefighters are still trying to clear the roadway. We'll have more details in subsequent newscasts.
Our top story today, fire raging at a tire storage facility near the Riverton disposal site, hampering commercial activities in the corporate area. And still to come, get ready. Disaster manager tells Jamaica to prepare for more floods in the months ahead.
Is this evening from Junior Youth Minister Floyd Green. Mr. Green, who is making his contribution to the sectoral debate in Parliament on Tuesday, also spoke of plans to improve children's homes. TVJ's Andrea Chisholm reports.
What the ward said to me, Mr. Speaker, is that oftentimes when they apply for a job, when they indicate that they lived in our government facilities, they are discriminated against.
State Minister in the Ministry of Youth and Education Floyd Green relating the plight of children in state care.
They say oftentimes the entire interview, Mr. Speaker, changes. An assumption is made that they are troublemakers coming into the place to give trouble. Mr. Speaker, as a society, we must stop that.
He says most children end up in state care not because they're bad, but because of neglect. And so the government is moving to improve the lives of those children. $14 million has been set aside to upgrade the infrastructure of private children's homes. After reaching age 18, some of the wards will benefit from Jamaica's first transitional living complex when it's opened in June at 24 Lady Musgrave Road.
This facility will house 40 females and will allow us to provide a home for girls who would have normally aged out of our system, but quite frankly have nowhere else to go.
The Youth Ministry will also begin a pilot for a privately run foster care program. It's being done with the Family Life Ministries.
Under the arrangement, Mr. Speaker, Family Life Ministries will seek and do recruitment and training of prospective families, all of who will be vetted by our agency. Family Life Ministries, Mr. Speaker, will also provide an additional stipend for families who are recruited through this program.
Speaking of stipend, the monthly payment to foster care parents has been increased from $4,000 to $8,000. Mr. Green is urging more Jamaicans to join the program. Up to March this year, over 200 children were placed with the families, and there are over 760 children in the foster care program. Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
A primetime news follow-up now on a flood crisis in section of the Little London area in Westmoreland. Over 1,000 residents have been impacted by the floodwaters. Political representatives and other stakeholders toured sections of devastated communities on Tuesday. TVJ's Kalisha Williams was in Westmoreland and now reports.
The rains have eased.
We have to say thanks to God, because he's awesome and he's wonderful. He's so good. It could have been worse.
But while there is sunshine in the Matney Land community in Little London, Westmoreland, it may take days before the flood waters dry up. When our news team visited the community on Tuesday, there were signs of tragedy everywhere. Livestock, houses and motor vehicles were all impacted by floodwaters. Residents told the ordeal.
Me lie down on the bed yesterday morning. Every time I come off of the bed now to go to the bathroom, I can't keep on the slippers for me for the water flow off. And me look. Me say, no man, I can't stay in here. Me panic, me have to take up, me make sense, me take up my medication and me make case pack up few 2 liquids up in the bag. Sail out.
I'm a swimmer, you know. And a swimmer and a diver can get out of just about anything. So I get out by swimming, and accidentally, by the time I step out, my waist height.
While some residents remain marooned, others trek through the murky water. This woman was not taking any chances. She used a makeshift raft to get out.
This is not a river. I'm actually standing in the middle of the road in Matney Lands. The houses behind me are severely impacted. Although the water is receding, it's causing major headaches for residents.
Somebody come and help and block up the settee, the fridge, the washing machine. Everything. When me look, bathroom full of water, the yard is flowing with water.
Cheryl Smith is one of the 6 persons who had to be evacuated to this shelter.
If the rain were pour long, then we don't know what could happen. It go way up and then at the bottom, next to go in. When I spoke with my son them, they said to me, the best thing for you, ma'am, you have to leave. In spite of everything, what if there is anything to lose, it better you lose those things more than lose your life.
Soon after our news team arrived in the area, Member of Parliament for Western Westmoreland, Dr. Wickham McNeil, showed up with Councillor for the Little London Division, Ian Miles. They promised help, but still faced blame for not getting the drains in the area cleaned ahead of the rainy season.
We tear the fake culverts. You know what I mean?
You see fake culverts being put up in the area?
Put at the roadside. Whenever time you have flood, they bring culvert and put it here and say, look here, we're going to put this in, and as soon as the flood gone, the culvert goes someplace else. We don't need that no more.
How do you respond to residents saying they have been neglected over the years and there have been little political representation in the area? Some of them saying they haven't seen you before. What's your response to that?
I would say, you know, part of what happens is people will say different things. Last year, August, September, we were here. We actually fixed the road. This is a brand new road which we put in, working with RADA. We were here during the fixing of the road, both myself and the councillor, and going through. It's part of the problem because now that we have had the flooding, it's going to have a negative effect on the road. So you're going to have some persons that will say what they will say.
We have just completed some drain cleaning projects within the area, and that is why the water has been receding at the pace at which it has been receding now.
Kalisha Williams, TVJ News.
Use the current flooding to plan. A call to action from head of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, Ronald Jackson, who warns that the 2018 hurricane season may be as active as last year. Mr. Jackson was at the 7th IRF Caribbean Regional Congress in St. James. TVJ's Herman Green reports.
In January, flooding in sections of Portland. By February, Parity St. Elizabeth was affected. Then Montego Bay St. James in March, and now in May, Western Westmoreland. Flooding events all due to heavy rains, not storm systems. Executive Director of the Caribbean Disaster and Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA, Ronald Jackson, says Jamaica should take note and act quickly.
What you're seeing from the rains yesterday is not new. But what it does point out, it exposes where you have weaknesses in the country, so that if you have a catastrophic event coming in, you would expect to see more of the same, so to speak.
Sections of Westmoreland are still underwater from recent rains, and so no corrective measures can be implemented as yet. However, there is concern that other parishes flooded in prior months have not seen any changes. Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, was unavailable for comment on Wednesday, but this is what he said after the flooding in his city in March.
It can't be like this whenever time we have a heavy shower rain. You find this area being flooded. So my advice is for the technical people, I'll ask the parish council to liaison with the NWA engineers to see what method can be arrived at, that we don't have this type of activity here when it rains heavily.
Roads in East Kingston were blocked after Sunday's rains. Kingston's Mayor Delroy Williams says those roads were cleared, but an assessment of the drainage network in the area shows they are inadequate.
It is compromising a lot of the homes along that stretch, Arbor Drive. So we have asked the City Engineers Department to do an assessment, to do an estimate of what it would cost to construct a proper drain from Bayshore to the harbour.
In Portland, measures were implemented in January to divert floodwaters from the Matty Hole area, but there are concerns that heavy rains could cause flooding in nearby communities since the water has been redirected to the Rio Grande. In any case, Mr. Jackson says collectively, Jamaica needs to act wisely.
What you want to do is to look at these events that are happening and to use them to plan for the upcoming hurricane season. You make right what you need to make right, but where you can't, then the citizens and the state architecture must now put this into its contingency plan to potentially respond to those areas that could be affected and other such areas that may have similar challenges.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Farmers in Boghole, Clarendon have again lost crops after a day of rains between Sunday night and Monday. Krista Campbell reports.
Back in Boghole, Clarendon, after the weekend heavy rains and similar scenes to what happened following last year's major flooding. Only this time, some farmers closer to the pond in the area are the ones reeling.
I lose a lot of lettuce, cabbage, popchow, pepper and things like that.
Even over our side over there, I have a lot of cabbage over there selling, cabbage not selling, $10 a pound. Right now, me there fruit right now for me don't know how it will go when it come in.
They say the rains are unfortunate reminders of last year's devastating floods from which they are yet to recover.
It's not the kind of water farmers were hoping for as they struggled with months of drought here in Boghole, Clarendon. Consistent rainfall Sunday night into most of Monday, and the farmers are again counting their losses. For one farmer alone, almost an entire acre of lettuce underwater.
If you look at the lakeside now and see the amount of crop that him lose down there, it's like when the water come in, there's a lot of we have to go and help him and chop the lettuce them out of the water. So I still sorry for that poor fella for right now. The lettuce, him lose a lot of lettuce right now. And cabbage, if you look over there now and see there a lot of cabbage over there is part underwater. So I don't mind if somebody could come and give us some help to help the poor fella for right now him down and him face now. Is the crop ready to reap right now? Right now it's ready to reap because we go in the water there and we chop it out. And there's a man coming at the year and he'll take it, yes, but I know the farmer don't get not much for it.
With more losses come more concerns about markets and profits.
When I farm, I sell the supermarket. I sell it to the supermarket. Right now, I'm fretting because I have to go buy enough and the price will go up there now. Last week, lettuce was $40 and now they must say $100. And they must say next week, I go as $150, $200.
And with more rains expected and the start of the hurricane season less than a month away, farmers are worried.
We are fretting right now because we don't know where we stand. For Boghole is a place as the rain John did. So we are watch right now.
I know say we have a higher ground where we could really go on to set the crop on, so we have to just take with chances right now.
The farmers are again appealing for help with seeds and fertilizer so they can begin the replanting. Krista Campbell, TVJ News.
Could some types of wet wipes put your baby at risk for an allergic reaction? Well, let's find out.